Thursday. Okay, hold on. Happy Thursday. You guys are in for such a treat with this author I'm going to have on. Hello.
How are you?
Okay. I think my sound is still. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can.
Good.
Welcome to Let's Go Live. I'm Gigi Meyer, and I have with me Leigh Turner, sports romance author. Welcome, Leigh.
Thank you. And my dog.
And your dog.
Yes.
Okay, starting today, happy release day. Stranded on Second is available where? Tell everybody.
It is on Amazon. It is in KU, but it's also on paperback. So
Congratulations.
it is right here.
I love your graphics, your wall. Everything is just so well branded. It is so pretty.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how's your release day been going?
It's been good. I woke up to so many notifications. I was overwhelmed right off the bat, and then slowly made my way through that. It's been great. It's
Beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's still so surreal. It's like half feels real, and then halfway feels like I'm just playing pretend. I don't know.
So half a real author and the other half imposter syndrome.
Yes, exactly. Like I'm just playing on the internet. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, that means you're like a full-time author because imposter syndrome goes hand in hand with writing a book.
Right.
Lovely. Okay, so starting from the top, tell me, is this your debut novel? Because I was trying to like dig around and I think it is. So
Yes, it is. It's my debut. Hopefully the first of many, but yes, this is the one that's gonna start it all.
are you going to show us the cover again?
Yeah.
It's so pretty. I love it. Stranded on Second.
Yep. So this is I decided to write a book during like the pandemic era. So I was watching on Netflix this documentary about this couple that went on a long weekend and got stranded when the pandemic hit and like the world closed down. And so my brain just kind of started going of like, well, what if two strangers met on vacation and then got trapped and decided to kind of stay together? And what would make it realistic? So Ivory, our FMC, is a movie star. She's always been like Hollywood's sweetheart, kind of pigeonholed into this role that she's just kind of going through the motions and has been wanting to kind of break out and do more. And she was about to get the chance to direct and write, and then the studio canceled everything. And so her best friend convinces her to go just a weekend on vacation to Belize, and then that's where she meets Preston. And Preston is a second baseman in the majors, and actually plays for her dad's team. So there's that little loose coach's daughter tie that everyone loves, but it's not in the forbidden like bad news aspect that you normally see it. So they just kind of meet and develop this acquaintanceship, friendship, and then obviously into lovers as time goes on, and they're on this like 3 month journey before they're able to come home.
Okay, so was it, I know it was written during the pandemic, but is it also set during the pandemic?
Yeah, so it's set during the pandemic, but I wrote it last year. So a little bit reversed. So I started it in like July and finished it in December.
That's fast. How many words is it?
118,000.
118?
Yeah.
That's a very fast writing.
Yeah, so I think my first draft was like around 140, and then I like tried to cut as much as I could.
I know, it's so hard, right?
It is. And then it's funny, probably 30,000 or more, and then one of my critique writers read it and had me add back in a lot of stuff that I cut for context. So I'm like go back and forth.
Okay, so I love that idea. I think there was a lot of people that sat at home and we were just so bored with each other, bored with having to be locked in.
Yeah.
What a great productive way, though. You're over there thinking about like what you want to do, because there's a lot of people that want to write a book.
Yeah. And it's something that I've been thinking about for over 10 years. And I've kind of started and stopped a bunch of different projects, and nothing really got me going. So it's these characters that just wouldn't shut up, and here we are.
So let me ask you this: why sports romance?
I love sports in general.
Mm-hmm.
Huge baseball girl. I have season tickets here in Nashville to our minor league team, and so I go to those a lot every summer. And I just love sports romance in general. So when I wanted to write, I knew if I was going to write sports romance, it would be baseball. And I feel like we're seeing a lot of hockey and then a lot of football even, but not so much baseball. I feel like we're kind of trying to start a baseball movement here. So
Yeah, hockey is huge right now.
it is. And so it's great because it's like opening day today, perfect tie-in there. And then I've met a lot of baseball along the way that we're kind of teaming up, and one of them's actually on the live. Tori, she released her debut today too, called Caught Stealing.
Hey.
So go check that out. But yeah, so that's been the best part, is just kind of connecting with other sports authors, and then debut authors in general, because there are so many of us.
Oh yeah. And so why baseball? Are you a baseball fan of your local team?
Yes, and then my major league team would be the Tampa Bay Rays.
How are you in Florida?
I'm
Florida.
in Nashville now, but I used to live in North Carolina, and then I went to law school in Florida. But yeah, I'm a huge baseball fan, and so I go as much as I can.
So sorry for my coughing. Like I told you, it's crazy. So I feel so sorry. So tell us what has been the funnest part of being a debut author and the hardest.
Oh, I think the funnest part has just been Bookstagram in general. Meeting everybody. Can you please stop? Meeting everybody and connecting with other authors, but other readers too. I mean, my beta readers have become some of my closest friends on here, and just building that community and seeing everybody kind of shout out to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I love that part. That's been the best part. The hardest part has probably been trying to figure it all out. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like the business side of it, especially, but also trying to find the time to write, because I have a full-time job. So I would write between like 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. and just
Oh
try
my
to like
gosh.
get the words in when I could, because it's really hard. And I read all day, read and write all day I've been calling it my real job, but I guess this is now my real job too. Um, but my bigger paying job. And so I underestimated how hard it would be to do that all day and then come home and try to get into the headspace to create this world.
Well, I would imagine, because you're an attorney, correct?
Damn.
Yeah, and so that takes just the mental focus, and it's so taxing and exhausting. So then you come home, and I'm sure like, well, normal people want to like decompress, have a lovely dinner, relax in front of the TV, and you're just like, time to go right.
Yeah. I would come home and I would eat dinner, and then like on a lot of nights I talk to my dad. And I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go start my second job now, so I'll talk to you later.
But that's amazing, though, that you're able to write that whole book in 5 months with a full-time job. I mean, it's like fatigue, right? I would imagine your eyes are exhausted, they're burning, from your day job, and then you're like, let me get back on the computer for another 4 hours. You must not need much sleep.
I definitely didn't sleep a lot during that stuff, but I would have to do it because I could not get up early to save my life. Like I try, and then I sleep through every alarm that I ever set. And then just, God bless my friends, because I would say no to literally everything.
Like,
Like so,
so antisocial.
yeah. And then, yeah, so by the time I finished and it got to like my betas and then my editor, I was, like you said, I was just exhausted. Um, but thankfully, I was worried too, because I decided in January, I think, that I was gonna just go for it and try for today, for release day. And I was
Oh,
so,
you didn't have that already set?
it
Ooh.
was like in my mind, it was like I would really want to, and then I just felt like it took so long to actually get everything finished. And then I was like, all right, I got to rush through all of this stuff because that has to happen. But, once February hit, I started feeling a lot better about the timing. Um,
Well, how did you find, since you're a debut author, one of the questions we get is team, how do you find people? How do you find betas? How do you find a critique partner that you mentioned, editors, etc.?
so I started a Bookstagram before I started my author account. And so I had kind of met some fellow readers that I knew kind of read this stuff over there. Um, and I actually put out one of the first things I did when I started my author account was putting out just like a beta reader interest form, like a
Oh,
Google
okay.
form
Smart.
on my profile. So I had people apply and just tell me what they like to read and give me their handle, which was a mistake that I made when I did a PR sign up. I didn't ask for anybody's handle, and I don't know anybody's real name. It's not going to be great. So I did that, and so I got a really good response from the form, and then I ended up dividing it into 2 rounds. So the first round of betas were more people that I had a relationship with already
Yeah.
from Instagram or like personal friends
Yeah.
because
Nice.
they were pretty rough. Um, and then after I got their feedback, I decided to send it to 5 more people that had filled out the form. And it's so fun because 2 of them are now writing their own books.
Oh, you
So
inspired them?
I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, so they're doing that, and they've asked me to beta read theirs, and so I'm really excited about that. Um,
Well, if you have all that feedback coming back, one of the hardest things is how, you can have too much. So
yeah,
how do you sort through, well, how many betas did you have? And then how do you sort through all the information coming back?
so I think total I had 8 or 9.
Ooh, that was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, and it was divided into 2 rounds, luckily, so it was like 4 and 4. And then in that first round was one who was a really big critique part. Um, but
Leigh, I don't know what happened to the sound. I can't hear you. No, I just hear your lips moving.
anything right now?
Okay, I hear it very faintly.
Testing, 1, 2.
There we go. You're back.
Somebody called, so I think that interrupted it.
Oh, yes.
Um, so yeah, so I had the one of the betas was very critiquing, and so that was a lot of feedback, but it was such good feedback too. Um, but I did have to do that with some of the feedback of like, well, how much of this do I really want to put in? Because
Okay.
does it interrupt how I hear the characters? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so yeah, that was a struggle, but ultimately I decided to just kind of go with my gut and how they spoke to me. Because I had a very intentional way that I wanted, for instance, Ivory in the beginning, she speaks a certain way of like very proper
Oh,
um, because of the industry that she's been in. And so she's had this public persona.
yeah.
And I
Media
wanted her,
training.
yeah, and I really wanted her to speak differently as we got to know the real her.
Mm. Ooh, I like that.
Like the breaking down of the public image versus who she actually is and who she kind of grows into through her character development. And so I struggled with that a little bit. So,
Oh,
thank you. I'm so glad.
Loved it so much. That's so sweet. So on that though, I lost my train of thought. I had a question for you. But I think I like that emotional or that arc because a lot of people think that that could be not intentional writing. You know, like us authors, we slip and it's not something we edit. But I like how you devise that. It's very clever.
Yeah. So, like, I know it was funny because so one of my beta readers, she hated that I always used the character name when I was like explaining things. And so I'd be like, and Preston, because I got lost in that old adage of, you know, when you learn to write originally in school, you can only say he so many times back to back before you throw a name in, but then you're supposed to also be telling it from in their head. And so they're not just calling them the person's name in their head the whole time.
Exactly.
So all of that, and then not using contractions, which was very intentional at the beginning. And then we grow into more and more. But that was one of the most common edits was people, instead of we are, we're, your, you know, those kinds of things. And I'm like, well, no, I get it. We're getting there. She needs to sound a certain way first.
So I think you hit on something huge. Contractions are not, we use them every day in our dialogue all the time. And I'm sure you as an attorney, your English is very proper, right? When you can't use a lot of the words that we use conversationally. So that has got to be for you a brain switch to where you're in proper formal, and then you like have lunch or have dinner, talk to dad, and then you're like, okay, on to like more conversational.
Yeah, and I definitely noticed, it was funny reading it back after they had pointed it out to me, how many times I did not use contractions.
You slipped into like attorney mode.
Like just spelling it all out. I'm like, okay, gotta get this back.
No, I know it's hard because we try to write witty, snappy dialogue, but then I am guilty, like of you, where I don't have enough contractions and I have to go back and look at I am and like search how many I ams I have and change it if I can.
Yeah. That was probably the biggest thing that I had to fix was making it more conversational like that and not so formal.
So let me ask you, if you wrote it in 5 months and then you decided in January to publish it in March 28th today, where did you have time for the rewrites and the edits and these critique partners? You said you had it in like 2 tranches, if you will, and one was your main critique partner, but where does that fit in on the timeline?
So it was basically all in January. So I finished it the first week of December. Like the first draft was done the first week of December.
Yeah.
And then stepped away for a few weeks. I stepped away longer than I intended to, but the holidays and everything got in the way.
Well, plus you want to have fun for all your hard work too.
Yeah. And so right after Christmas, I kind of went in and did the second draft on my own. And I had to go back and fix quite a few things in the second draft just because I don't know if you can see all these sticky notes on the wall.
I love it.
The
I was going to ask you about that.
Wonky around chapter 15. And so I had to go back and fix like the first 15 chapters. So I kind of tore everything up in the second draft. And that took me about 2 weeks. And then after that, I sent it to the first round of betas and gave them a couple weeks. And then really the last week of January, because it was due at my editor on February 1st. So I really kind of ran through those edits. And then when I sent it to the editor, I also sent it to the second round of beta readers.
Okay.
And luckily, when it came back from them, it was just kind of minor tweaks and things and clarifications and stuff like that.
Well, they always say the first draft is for us, you know, for us authors to tell ourselves a story. And I understand that because sometimes we have inconsistencies that when you're so close to the story, you don't even see them anymore. But like you said, when you set it aside, your work aside, and then you come back, you're like, oh my gosh, these are glaring. How did I not catch these? And so it's intriguing to me that you had to rewrite the first, not half, but the first like quarter of the book to then match. And I feel like a lot of authors have to do that because the story just gets richer. There's more dynamic, more twists and turns. You're like, I should foreshadow, in the beginning.
Yeah, and then so what really happened for me that kind of threw it off was, so it was during the pandemic, and so I felt like writing in a time period that the dates were so important. I completely missed in my research that a lot of these landmarks in Belize are governed by like a governmental body down there, and so they were also closed.
Yeah.
I had planned this road trip adventure to take place a month earlier than it actually ends up happening in the book.
Yeah.
But they were closed. And so I'm like, well, I can't have them starting this when they're not even open in real life. So I had to like add time to the front of where they were and how long they got stuck before they could actually start the road trip. And so that was one of the big plot holes that I didn't realize until halfway through.
Well, I think, there's like historical fiction authors. It's kind of similar to them, right? When they're trying to dovetail it into historical events. And so they really have to watch like two timelines, the timelines of their own book, and then also the real timeline that they're trying to. And I'm like, oh, girl, that's too much work.
Oh, yeah, I'm not doing it again.
I can barely keep my story timeline together. Like,
yeah. It was a lot, and so I've decided I will not be writing in years past in the future. We will just
I'll make it
jump in and just figure it out.
Okay, so let me walk through for those that are listening. You write it, and actually in almost less than 5 months, because you said you started in July and you finished it the first week of December. So that's really, like 4 months and a week. And then you take some time away, 2 weeks with the editors, and then really like a month to do all your rewrites because you have it sent off to the editor again. I mean, that is a very fast timeline. Girl, you must like pressure.
I must, because it wasn't good otherwise. And so I think I wrote like close to 60,000 words in November alone. And so, because I was like really struggling.
Did you participate in NaNoWriMo?
I did. And I did it so that I would finish it. Because I was kind of struggling. I got to a point where like, yeah, I'm doing it. Like, it's great. We're getting there. And then I just wasn't progressing as fast as I wanted to. And so I was like, I need this challenge, this internal challenge for myself.
Of course.
And so it really helped me finish that first draft. So I think that's why it got done like that.
I love NaNoWriMo. I mean, I participate. There's been a little bit of controversy around the forums, and they're making a bunch of changes, as well they should around that, because that's just crazy. But I think as a whole, it's nice. I think camp starts April 1st. So are you going to do camp?
Oh, I didn't know that. So maybe, because I need to write book.
Are you doing book 2?
I need to, yes. This is actually book 1 of a series. And so we meet a lot of side characters. Not a lot. We meet 3 side characters right now. And so each of them will get a book. I have ideas, but I haven't actually started book 2 yet or figured out where I wanted to go. Because it was funny because I originally thought book 1 would be 1 character. Then another one popped up and said, no, I should be book 2. And now they're not speaking. So I'm like, well, do I go this way again? But yeah, so maybe I should do camp because that would be a good way to get started.
Well, and it's not 50,000 words, so it's obviously not nano, but camp. It's whatever goal you want to set.
Okay, I'll look into it. Yeah, because I liked the little pressure challenge of it all to see like how many words could I write a day.
Leigh, yes, we now know that you like the pressure.
Apparently.
But they say if you want to learn anything about yourself, write a book. You'll learn a lot.
Yeah, I think that's true. And you have one coming out next week, right?
I do. on Monday, April 1st. So that's the fourth book in my series, the Canyon series. And girl, it's dark and disturbing, and I love it.
I was going to say, I saw a reel, and I was like, oh, that's a little dark for me.
I know, it's the darkest one I've written. And so my developmental editor, she is on here. And I was like, girl, am I going too dark? Like, is this, because there's like a barely consensual scene in there, like barely. It's very disturbing. And she's like, I love it, keep it.
I was going to say, everybody loves it, so I think you're fine.
I know, like, if that happened in real life, we'd be devastated. Or if that happened to, like, one of our, like, sisters or our friends, we'd be devastated. But, I feel like dark romance, you can do whatever and get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw somebody on TikTok talking about that recently. Like, somebody had posted a video about, just dark romance themes and how bad they are. And the video, I'm like, I don't read this because it's close to real life. I read this because it's taboo.
Exactly. Okay, so switching gears, tell us about your sticky wall. I adore it. I used to have a sticky wall for my ideas. And so it's like, a kinship here. Tell us about your sticky wall.
Yeah, so when I found the plot hole, I was like, I need to visualize it. I'm a visual person, and so I have like I had printed out the maps and everything for Belize so that I could like kind of plot it out. And I was like, I need to see the actual timeline in my face. Minnie, he barked just for you. And so I needed to see the dates all set out and like figure out how many days they spend in each place, and then what they do there. And so that kind of started it to keep me on track. I knew like when it needed to end, when he needed to be back for summer camp training and the season to start back up. And I knew when they left and when everything was shut down. And so then I had to go in and figure out with the dates how to fill in the rest of it. And so now I have a master sticky note wall.
I love it. So do each color is like one color for date and one color for time and one color for him, and yeah.
So the pink ones are like the percentage, did you ever do Save the Cat to figure out? Yeah. So the ones on top are the percentages so that I know like act 1, act 2, act 3, where we are in the story, plus the locations. And then the yellow ones are the dates. And then the big blue ones over on this side, like at the bottom, are like all the landmarks and stuff I wanted them to go to. And then the little random in the middle, they were stuck in a house on an island for a while. And I'm like, what activities are we going to do? And also,
inside house.
When can I bring in the sexy times? Because I wanted it to be a slow burn. So we'll get to that around chapter 22. For those of you that are just going to read it, you have a while, but it's worth it. So that's kind of how I did it all and tried to keep track of it.
Okay, but it's beautiful. Are you going to dismantle it, or will it stay up there?
I was actually debating dismantling it tomorrow, but because now I got to move on to what's next. So we'll see.
There's more wall space, yeah.
There's more wall space.
I know. I took my sticky wall down. It was a sad day.
I know. Yeah, so I did all that, and then I also have like more sticky notes just randomly as I would edit to try to keep track of the dates, because obviously it evolves. So the perfect plan never really works.
No, because your characters go off script, and you're like, no, hey, get back over here, and they're like, no.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that. So I mentioned it was a coach's daughter situation. And so in the first draft, the dad, the coach, he really went off script. Like when I ended it, I was like, oh, I'm very surprised that you handled it this way. And so talking about beta reader feedback, like some of them told me it can be too petty. And I was like,
Oh.
I can see that. I was also surprised. I can see where it's all very petty. So I had to reel it back in and reel him back in. But that was just like, yeah, letting the characters lead you is one of the most fun things and like most surprising things, I think, of the process.
Oh yeah, it is. It's the magic, right?
Yeah.
And so when you talk to people who are not authors, they're like, that's the stupidest thing I've heard. You're the author. What do you mean? They go off script. And I'm like, you have no idea.
Yeah. And then people ask me, like, so what was this? I'm like, I don't know. I made it up.
Yeah.
Waiting on them to tell me. I have no idea what she's doing.
In my book that does come out Monday, I have a couple of the alpha readers who were like, I don't like how it ends. I don't agree with her decision. I don't know. I was like, I don't know what to tell you. That's what she decided.
Yep.
You know, like she's a different entity from me. I'm like, I don't know. I just told her story. I just
Yeah.
dictated it.
Yeah. That's how I felt trying to end it. I didn't intend for it to be nearly like 140,000 words when I first started it. And so I'm like, we're not done yet? Like, well, are we going to wrap this up anytime soon?
I know. And it's hard because some books, they just come to their own natural end. And then others, you're just like, I don't know. There's more of the story than I intended. Or I didn't even know until I wrote the whole draft. And you're like, whoo, there's way more than I thought.
Yeah, there was a lot more. And then I really struggled with the epilogue. So I didn't write the epilogue until like 2 weeks ago because I just could not figure out how to write it or what to do.
What do you mean by that for those that are writers and are listening? Did you not know like what scene or how far to put them down the road from their happily for now, or
It was,
because you're writing that second book, right? So it's a timeline issue. You're like, how far? But then I'm writing the second book.
yeah. So that was part of the issue there is because so it was both, it was a lot, it was all of those plus like I haven't really decided or the characters haven't decided where we're going with the second book. And so I didn't want to write an epilogue that really foreshadowed one character
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't actually pick up with that character next.
Yeah.
And I had originally intended to do like a 3-year time jump to present day.
Oh.
Um, then once I finally sat down to write, that didn't feel right. It felt like too much of a jump.
Too big.
Yeah. And because our characters, like, I don't want to spoil anything, so maybe I won't say it.
No.
But
Spoiler alert.
yeah. So I didn't do that big of a time jump in the epilogue, but I did try to leave it open-ended where really any of the side characters could pick up a book too. And I think the readers will be happy with any direction that it goes next. But I was just kind of like writing something that really kind of bottled me into one direction. And then if that didn't work out, I would feel terrible.
I love that. Usually I'll go like a month out or I'll go a few months, but I know what you're saying. Time jumping 3 years is kind of hard to swallow.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because like I didn't want to do some authors do the jump 10 years and there's a whole family and all of this stuff. And because it was going to be a series, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then miss everything that had, because they will play a part in the rest of the series. Like it's a very intertwined friend group. They're very involved in each other's lives. And so I kind of want to build that universe over the time.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those big 10-year. To be honest, like I don't know where my character's going to be. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like that they have their story that's authentic to them, and then for me to go like 5, 10 years out, I'm like I don't even know if that fits them.
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually did a jump for, I think 6 months is where I landed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
a really good
That's
one.
my bias. I'm months over years, but
I mean, I get it. And then, I was always like, I could do a bonus epilogue later.
Something. And people love that.
In with a prologue or something on the next round. So
Okay, so moving into book 2, do you plot it? Are you a pantser? What's your writing style?
I think I was a mix of both. So I tried to plot and then I ended up pantsing a lot.
Yep.
And I tried to plot again. But I think for this next one, I really do need to be more of a plotter, so that I don't get stuck. Because I did feel like I kind of got stuck halfway through writing, where I was like, I don't really know where I want to go now. Like I
Well,
thought I had a plan, and then I didn't.
well, if you were using the Save the Cat beat sheet, how did you get stuck? Because I know a lot of people use, Save the Hero or the Hero's Journey, Save the Cat, Romancing the Beat. There's a lot of them out there.
I think more it was less about like the major plot points and a lot more to do with like filling in the time that felt authentic to like the character story. And so like the conversation and the context and that kind of thing. It felt very slow, and then like I was getting bored. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, how many times are we going to cook dinner? And so I feel like this time around, I really need to kind of sit down and plan it out a bit more, like flesh it out a bit more, and then like also, um, just the characters and their attributes a little bit more. Because I feel like that first time around, I don't know if you felt this too, but I learned a lot more about my characters as I wrote them instead of knowing fully their personalities before I wrote them.
It's hard. Some people do character profiles at the very beginning before they even start anything. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like the characters have to tell me who they are and who their story is.
Yeah. So I too. Because I know like a lot of people that have character profiles and they know like, every little thing that they know about their character. Wow.
Before they write. I can do one after now that I know them, but I can't do it before. I'm like, heck, I don't know.
Yeah. So, but I would like to, especially with the side characters, I really want to go back and like pull out what we've learned about them so far and figure out like how to build on that. Because we've gotten a high level introduction to them and like their attributes and just their like relationship foundations with their friends. And so like how do I pull that out, flesh that out some more to the full personality profile, and then where to go.
Are you thinking about doing like a series Bible just for yourself, like in Excel or?
I probably should. Yeah, because I'm one of those people that's just terrified of mixing up the details.
Girl, you will.
And
They
I'm
will
like,
have blue eyes at the beginning, and at the end of the story, they're going to have green, and you won't even know it. And then your betas will be like, which do you want, green or blue? I don't know.
Yeah. So, and I'm always hyper aware of that too, because I always seem to pick it up in reading.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I want to make sure that that's not a trap that I fall into as well.
Well, and every author, I talk to a bunch on here on these interviews, and everyone I talk to, we all battle with that, right? Because you have the whole universe and world building and all your characters. And when you say like, I forgot what color their eyes are, their hair, is it long or short? And so the reader's like, how could you forget? You're like, because I got, a lot of details up in here that I should probably put on paper, but I'm too busy writing.
Yeah. There's that. And then it's always fun to me to see how the reader sees the characters, even with the attributes that we put in. So like all these edits and stuff that I'm seeing people put together, I love how they're seeing them, and sometimes different than I see them, which is perfectly normal and acceptable, and I love it. But that's a really fun tidbit to see.
Well, I'm like you. I want to get enough, with the like jet black hair and, chocolate eyes or whatever, or a shadow of a beard. I want to give enough so that way they have a general, but I'm big when I'm a reader. I want to figure out what their face looks like. I want to devise that in my brain. And so as a writer, I tend to not give like totally descriptive details because I want them to envision the character their way.
Yeah, and I feel like I did that a lot too. and like even down to like their clothes. Like I don't really describe their clothes a lot. Like I'll describe in a few scenes, like I describe what color bathing suits they're wearing because it's part of like them checking out the other person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of tried to leave it really open. And then I would message my betas a lot and be like, send me your inspiration. Like, who do you see as so and so? Like, if you were to fan cast, who do you see? And it was fun just to see what they said.
Well, it helps though, right? Because if they say, I don't know, Keira Knightley, you can go in and look up Keira Knightley and see how she dresses casually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so on your second, so you're like a plotzer.
Yeah. I think that's, I'm an in between. Yeah.
And it's hard, right? Because we try to fit to the beat sheet the best we can. But then when your characters go off script, you're like, hey guys, y'all should be making out in chapter 22. And then they're like on a beach vacation or something, they're just not doing it yet. And that's hard to stick to the beat sheet.
It is. It was very hard. And so I just tried to keep it to like at least the parameters of like the percentages of we're winding it down here and how long, I found too in this one specifically that at least in the first act, it was like a beat sheet all of its own because it was like that first decision point to go on vacation. And then, they meet and everything. And then like something big, like the big wrench throws in that would normally be, the start of Act 3, but it was really still in Act 1 because the main story hadn't started yet.
Yeah.
I had to kind of subplot it out a little bit to figure out how to get that all within, the first 20% of the book so that we still had a long runway to have fun and then mess things up.
Yeah, later.
Yeah.
I know. I feel your pain. I have a hard time sticking to my beat sheet. And that's why I have a developmental editor, because I'm just like, we are sticking to this. And when I mean we, it's really me. And then I go off and then, yeah, we're back. It's a nightmare. So, yeah, mad respect on you sticking to yours.
I tried. We'll see how it goes this time around. Who knows? It's anyone's guess at this point.
Right? Okay, so on book 2, I know you said that, you haven't started yet. You want to try and plot it, but also knowing what you went through, and writing it in really like 4.5 months. Would you do that again? Like, what have you learned from book 1 that you'll do in book 2, and what will you change in book 2?
Yeah, so I don't really want to do it again. So
Not that way. Not that way.
not that way. So which really kind of, next week is April. And so if I want to get another book out this year, that's only 8 months and I haven't even started writing yet. And so I'm like, well, is that even possible or am I just repeating the same thing I just did? So one thing I will do different this time though is I was really scared to let anybody read it in the first draft form. And so like nobody read it until after I already gone through the second draft. And
Okay.
So around, I'm definitely going to have people either read it while I'm writing or at least after I get to the 50% mark to go ahead and start getting that feedback. I feel like that's part of why it felt so rushed and I was so stressed between like December and now.
Yeah.
Trying to squeeze in all that feedback instead of getting it real time. So that'll definitely be a change that I make.
I've done that as well, and I like it. So I used to send like the whole manuscript, and it's daunting when you get 7-10 pages worth of like feedback and edits and all this stuff. You're just like, holy crap, what did I get myself into? So I always have to take a day to just like, okay, freak out today, be tactical tomorrow. And then now I've changed developmental editors, and we do a halfway point. I give her half, and I keep going, but while she's reading the half, then she's doing the edits, and then I can kind of craft the rest of the story based upon what she's feeding, give me as feedback.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's the way to go. I know a lot of people that, and it was partially me, one with like scared for somebody to read it because I was like, it sucks.
Oh yeah,
But
inner critic is
somebody told
horrible.
me it didn't suck. I was like, are you lying to me? I don't trust you.
Yeah,
And then the other part was I knew the plot hole was there. And so I was like, well, I'll send it to an
yeah.
alpha, and then I know I already have to rewrite it, but I need to get it done. And so that's, because I would find myself in the trap of, I'm just going to go back and edit what I've already done instead of finishing it, which is why I did NaNoWriMo, because I was like, I just need to finish the thing first and then
Yeah,
edit.
get it out.
Yes. And so I definitely know now for the next time, and that's why I kind of want to plot a little bit better so
Yeah,
that I know that I won't have those massive timeline plot holes at least, um, and can go ahead and get real-time feedback to make it easier on the back end.
I think so too. Hey, Tiffany, I want to tell you, um, beta reader, she doesn't, after we lose this live, the comments are lost. So
Oh,
just DM Leigh directly if you want to beta read for her.
I would love that.
Yeah. So that way, because these comments go away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know, not cool. So if you want to grab her handle, or Tiffany, you can reach out and DM her. Um, okay, so yeah, so if you were to 8 months, I mean, you wrote it in 4.5. It's doable, but at what cost? You said you're antisocial. It was working till 1. It was getting no sleep. Would you do a release at opening season every year?
I think that would be fun.
Right?
It's baseball. That would be really fun. I had thought, about doing like a opening and closing,
Oh yeah,
like
like
book
World
releases.
Series.
Yeah, like that would be cool, if I can get it together and figure it out by then.
Um,
But I know, but that's the other thing too, is like editors and cover designers and everybody just books up so fast. And I'm like, I haven't even started thinking about it to even figure it out.
yeah, to get on their schedules. And you're right. I saw there's plenty that are like, I'm booking into fall, and I'm like, holy moly, it's still March.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing next week.
Could working, being
Yeah,
a lawyer, working at the law office.
my day job.
Um, well, would you do a novella? Is there any,
I've
is there space to do a novella before like World Series?
I've thought about that, which might be a good idea because one of the tie-ins that I have that I think a lot of people are up in arms about. So, um, on the island that they stay at, somebody owns the house. I don't say who owns the house,
Mm-hmm.
but it's Ivory's best friend that knows the person that owns the house. And so there's that little nugget. And I'm like, I could theoretically, don't hold me to this, anybody watching this. I could theoretically do a novella of the backstory of that relationship if I decide that that's where it's going to go for her in her book.
Well, it would be really cool for your readers if you did release every opening season, if you gave them like a little, novella
Yeah,
for closing. I mean, that'd be so, but I don't know, your timing and if you can get all that done, but that would be really kind of cool. And
that would,
yes, it's brainstorming. No one hold her accountable.
yes. Not committing to anything on
Yeah,
this
no,
slide.
we're just spitfire here.
But that would be cool. I do like novellas, and then I also like the little I don't know if you've seen them. So TL Swan did one after her Miles High series where she did that like compilation of all the couples
Mm-hmm.
in a novella form. I'm like, that would be fun to follow like all the different friends too.
I think those were what, backstories?
I think it was like after the happily ever after.
But how would you do that in yours? Because the other ones have to be told.
I feel like I would have to do it of like a little tidbit of hinting at their
Mm-hmm. And the only thing about that is, man, that would lock you in on those other books that when you start writing someone's story, you're like, ugh, I don't even like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I'm scared of doing, because if I do find that, for instance, in book 2, I go with one main person, and the underlying like friendship story for the others goes somewhere else and they go rogue, then what is book 3?
Okay, this is not the same, but I'm going to give you an author to look up. She's really dynamic. Her name is Christina Carmela, and I can also DM you. But she has this beach town series called Nelsonville.
Okay.
And her branding is so stinking cute. It's called like Welcome to Nelsonville, or Greetings from Nelsonville is her podcast. But what she does, she can't rapid release like a lot of authors do. And so she has on her website, oh my gosh, she just has so much written. It's so impressive. But in her little Nelsonville universe, which is similar to you being on the island, she has different businesses, and each little business has a backstory and what they mean. And so some of these novellas, like you could do one at the house, but then you can also do like if they frequent, like, I don't know, if they go scuba diving, you could also preview that scuba dive company.
That's cute. Yeah, that is a cute idea.
But she does, because you can't lock yourself in, but she also wants to put out content. And so she'll highlight the different businesses, which you could do the same thing in your little island.
Yeah, that is cute. That is a cute
I'm
idea.
going to DM her handle, because when you go to her website, you enter her world. It is fascinating. She's just genius with it.
I love people that do that. It's amazing.
I would love to hire her and be like, hey, could you create my world? And could you do all the things you do? But, I understand she's an author with her world.
Yeah. And the way that these authors can churn out so many books and so much content, it's like, it amazes me. Like, they write so fast.
I am, okay, so I don't create worlds. I could do a much better job on that, but I do like to release, about 6 to 8 books a year. Ooh. But girl, it's because I get bored with my own story. I'm like, get.
Fair.
Yeah. So I have this saying for this year, and I don't even know where it came from, but I was like, girl, get up. And that means like get off this couch, get off the, scrolling, get off whatever wasting of time you're doing, and write these books, get the stories finished, hand them over to your developmental editor. She'll find all the stuff that's wrong, and then rewrite and go out, because I get bored with my own stuff. And I'm like, come on already.
Yeah, no, I get that. How many words are yours normally?
So Isla, that comes out on Monday, came in at about 139,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I wrote that in 6 weeks, but I had to. My back was against the wall because I lost my mama in January.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, thank you. And so that took me out of production for about 3 weeks to handle all of the affairs and all that. And so Amazon does not care. They will cancel your pre-orders. They do not care. I begged. I was like, my mom, and I'm sure they've heard people say my mom died, but mine literally did. And they're like, oh, too bad.
Yeah, and that's part of why I was so hesitant with the pre-order and the date, because I knew that they don't let you change it or they cancel the pre-orders. And so I was like, I'm just going to wait until I'm absolutely positively sure that I can make this date. And that's part of why I haven't set up a pre-order for book 2, because I'm like, I have no idea, and I don't want to have to change it and then them tell me I can't do another pre-order book, which they do.
I know. Ooh, you can't mess with them. I think they allow you to go out up to a year, but you can back it up and say like, oh, I'm going to release in 10 months, but you can't say I need 14 months. They're like, nope.
Yeah. And then I saw that you can only move it, I think, like one time?
Mm-hmm. One time in your whole career, not one time per book.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm like, I'll just wait.
No pressure.
No thanks.
I know. I mean, they are legit.
Have you queried at all? Or are you interested in like trad or any of that? Okay.
No way. Okay, so several reasons. Like I said, they are very
Yeah.
slow. They're very, very slow. And I just have so many stories. My gosh, I must have like 50 stories just rummaging around in there. And I can't wait the year and a half or 2 years. I have a really good friend who is traditionally published, and I watch her from the sidelines. And I mean, it is heartbreaking because you have to like query for an agent. That's super competitive. Then you get an agent. It still doesn't mean you're in with the big four houses. And then if you do get in with the big four, you may not get the marketing budget because they're over there doing like Dean Koontz's latest one that comes out in April, or, Colleen Hoover. And it's very, very challenging. And so to me, I can't, in a year and a half or 2 years, I could put out 14 books, or I could put out 10, or whatever that number is.
Yeah, I kind of felt that was slow, but then also like the, not having the control.
Yeah, they will change your story. So they've asked her to rewrite parts of her story. And I was like, what? I mean, if I want to kill my darlings, I'm going to kill them. It's going to be gory and glorious, but they're going to be dead.
Either way, they are dying.
Either way, they're dying. And there is in my debut novel, I had an excellent developmental editor, and I don't work with her anymore because she is so booked up. I can't meet her timeline. She's already booked into 2025. She's all booked this whole year. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so anyway, she's like, you can't do some of the things you want to do in your debut novel. I'm like, I am going to do everything I'm going to do. So
Props to you for that. I mean, that's great. Like, you know what you want to do, and
yeah,
you're going to do it.
I probably will never, because I love indies too much. I love the freedom, the control. I love being able to, put my books out there how I want to put it out there. I mean, I think every indie author, we compete for marketing, like on KDP, we're not allowed to do a video to market our book. But if you're traditionally published, you can watch Stephen King's whole book trailer on Amazon. So there's some disparities between what we're allowed to do and what they're allowed to do, but not enough for me to have to go through that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about yourself? Are you thinking about doing that?
I've thought about it, but then I'm like, not anytime soon if I did. I don't think, it's
Yeah.
just the timeline too. Because if you sign, then you're in. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm like, I'm struggling as it is. So maybe eventually. But I like being able to do it at my own speed and do what I want and have, the control over the story right now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if it happens, then it happens. But it's not that I'm like wanting to like gung ho, like, let's do it.
Yeah. 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 And I think there is some standards that I have to admit, I do read a lot. I read a lot of traditional published, and so I feel like some of them get to be kind of boring. They're so over edited,
Mm.
where your dialogue tags. It used to be, if you're ever going to use a dialogue tag, it has to be said, said, said. I'm like, well, I want to say she chimed in or he barked, and they're like, oh.
Yeah.
So some of the things I feel like it strips out some of that color and makes the story like less rich and more homogenized.
Yeah.
So I really prefer indie authors because I feel like the stories are just that much more full, more detailed, richer.
Yeah. And I feel like before I joined Bookstagram, I was already reading indie authors, but I didn't know they were indie authors.
Exactly.
What an indie author was, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I don't know. It's fun supporting your friends that you meet on the internet and then, see and follow their journey. Just,
Oh, exactly.
yeah.
And I know that like here you have a few folks that you and they join to support you.
Yeah,
And they'll be in your DMs and you're forming relationships. That's what's so beautiful about the community.
it is. It is. I was going to ask you something else and I forgot it too.
Okay, so you have 3 books in this series or 4 that you want to get to?
It'll so far with the people that we know, it would be 4 because there's 3 side characters.
And everybody gets one.
And everybody gets one. And then we might meet a few others along the way that add to the series, or maybe we'll do a spin-off or something like that.
Would you always write sports romance?
No, I've thought about doing like a musician kind of
Oh,
series.
Rockstar. Yeah, yeah, they are their own category on Amazon, which is nice.
I saw that. Or just like, standard, just contemporary romance too. So I have a few other ideas kind of churning
Percolating.
that I've kind of written down on this master list, and we'll see what happens.
Many. That's so sweet. Indie books are so much more authentic. I believe that too.
But yeah, so those are, I have a list of ideas and then just kind of adding to it as more ideas come up. So for now, I'm kind of going with the baseball sports thing, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I love that subgenre. I wish they had their own category because I see where they've broken out hockey now, and I'm like, dude, break out baseball.
Yeah, it was so hard picking categories too. I don't know if you find that like when you're uploading. So for those of you that don't know, you have to like pre-select your categories when you're putting up your pre-orders on Amazon, and they're not very intuitive on what they
No.
are or how to select them. So yeah, so I think I'm in like sports romance, which is just, without a subgenre, that's everybody.
It's a
So that's
huge category. Yeah, I have a sports romance, and he is Japanese and American. And so it's right now they have it. I don't even know how they have it. They have these ghost categories too. So I use Publisher Rocket, but even that doesn't get it right. But they have that sports romance book in Asian American literature.
interesting.
Yeah, just because he's
Well,
Japanese.
and I know a lot of people that their books are ending up in later in life because their characters are in their 30s, and I'm like,
When did later in life get in your 30s? Like,
no,
dang. Yeah.
really? Yeah. And then, so yeah, I'm in sports, and then I think I switched it today to action and adventure.
Oh,
Because just to see how it does. And then contemporary. Um,
yeah.
but then I guess women's fiction also has a romance genre, and I'm like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, so many end up in historical. Oh, I know.
I saw one in historical today, and I was like, that doesn't sound historical.
Yeah, like mine is in Japanese literature. So it's just like all these beautiful covers, hot guy, beautiful covers. I'm like, uh-huh, yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah. I'm in with my people.
they're gonna go for the hot guy.
Yeah,
That's why he's the hot guy.
like naked hot guy. Yeah, we're in the right genre. But Amazon's gonna do what Amazon's gonna do.
That is fair.
So let me ask you this. What technology or apps do you use to kind of organize all your ideas, keep your writing together for those that are writing their own book? I think that's the biggest thing, right? Because we end up being, what is it? Information rich and resource poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started with just Google Docs because I didn't know anything about any software or anything like that. And then I ended up buying Scrivener to draft, um, which I'm still learning and figuring it out. But I liked that it had a place for all the
Yep.
research to kind of go and because I had like 50 open tabs on the internet. Like if I close any of these, I'm going to lose where I am.
Girl, same right now.
And so
My Chrome keeps
like,
crashing.
yeah, I'm like, one of the windows closed one time. I'm like, oh my God, what articles was I reading? I cannot find them anywhere. But I liked it because once I added them to Scrivener, it would still connect to the web page.
Mhm.
And so I loved that. And then they had the character profiles that you were talking about. Do you use Scrivener?
I do not. So I'm hella lazy.
Profile like kind of pre-set. And I'm like, well, now I can use these. And you can build like location profiles too in there.
I know many people that use it, and it has a steep learning curve from what I've heard. And I'm just too lazy. I'm like, oh, I could do it in Word because we've all been on Word since whenever Word was invented. And I come from the business world, so like I know all that. I'm like, so I could either do it here or I could spend 2 weeks learning Scrivener. Now, long term, I should, but short term, I think I have ADHD, and I'm like, no.
So I felt that. So like I wrote the first draft in Google.
Yeah.
And I like copied it over into Scrivener because I was like, this might be a good idea. Because I was like, well, I can easily rearrange things because you can
Yes.
by scene and stuff. But then to share it with the betas, I don't know if you can share in Scrivener because I also was too lazy to figure it out and just downloaded it and sent it out in Google Docs. And so that's the part that I need to figure out when I actually have more time. But I was like, I just need to get in here and get it done, and we'll figure it out as we go along.
Yeah.
And then I bought Vellum for formatting, so I formatted it myself.
Vellum is awesome. I love it. And I've been on it so long, they finally have been expanding it. So you can go back, because before it would save your EPUB down to your computer. And if you did not do it right or index it right, girl was lost forever. And then you couldn't find that version. Or then it overwrites each other and you're like, oh, I didn't mean for it to overwrite. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I struggled with it a lot because I wanted to do images as like the chapter headings.
Oh, yes.
And I got annoyed that it moved the text so far down. So I ended up not doing the images as the chapter heading. But it worked out because I did like, I can probably show you in here. So I did, for the scene breaks at least, I was able to create like custom scene breaks. So it's like the little movie clacker with a baseball.
So cute.
And they text a lot, and so I loved that it had the text bubbles that you can actually.
Awesome. I know, that's my favorite thing. Yeah, I just heard that too many that they've deleted the spicy books. I can't remember what author I was talking to, but she used Google Docs for like her whole universe, and then she got some violation against the new guidelines of Google, and she was losing her work. She was freaking out and asking us, like who all backs up and stuff like that.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So back up your work if you're on Google, because yeah.
I'm done, because otherwise I would have lost everything.
I know.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that's a plus in like deciding to write in Word or write in Scrivener. So then at least it's on like your personal computer. I always get terrified too, just it's the real life lawyer hazard in me of like sharing stuff on a cloud and then like, what if it gets hacked and all of my stuff is like taken?
I know. I'm always like, how do I access the cloud? Do I really know? Do I really ever go in there? I mean, in theory, I'm like, girl, you know how to access the cloud. But when I actually like, do I really know?
Yeah.
If I had to go and find a file, could I do it?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be able to. Like, it's not the option on my computer. I don't know how to go out to the internet and figure it out.
I know. I'd be at like Geek Squad, like, what do I do?
Please fix it.
Please fix it. I heard that too. Yeah, about Wells said that she heard it too about Google. I don't use Google Docs, and so not for any of my writing. I do it for like my ARC sign up, or sometimes I'll do a collab with another author, and that's how we communicate. But I keep all my stuff old-fashioned Word, and then back it up that way.
Yeah. So,
but I don't know the details.
They actually, Megan over there, she actually created a custom candle for me for PR.
Ooh.
And then put like a quote on there, and then candle melts too. So if you need candles, Megan is your girl, and they smell amazing.
Ooh, okay. Megan, DM me, because I am looking into doing a book box sometime this year. But girl, I need help. You know that whole girl get up?
Yeah.
That's what I need. Girl, get up on that, because I need help. I've never done one, but I have one series that's all ebooks, and I'm saving the paperbacks to make it a book box. I know. But I have no idea what I'm doing. So
Yeah, definitely get a candle. They smell amazing. And then also support small businesses.
exactly. So she needs to DM me. Okay, so do you have a few more moments for rapid fire questions?
Sure.
Okay. Do you read paperback or e-reader?
I mostly read e-reader, but I do read paperback too. It's just so
E-reader,
I have my Kindle on my phone and just so
it's so convenient. Like I love paperbacks. I love the smell. I love the crack of the spine. But that's me romanticizing paperbacks or hardbacks, right?
yeah,
But they're really, I have to lug them
I
around.
know. And I'm a KU girly, so I'm like always reading something on. My friends always make fun of me because I'm on my phone and they're like, "Are you reading?" I'm like, "Yes."
I am. Y'all know that already. I don't know why you asked.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not texting. I'm reading.
I am dating my book boyfriend.
Exactly. Need more.
Even better. Okay, plotting or pantser?
We're just gonna go straight down the middle
Plotzer?
from the plotster.
I'm a plotzer. Do you write in first person or third person?
First person.
Present tense or past?
Present, but it was very hard not getting into the past tense. So I would like switch and it drove me insane.
Well, because I think readers like present tense,
Yes.
but you're right. Because business writing is past tense.
Yeah. And so I would always be like in the same sentence, it'd be like, I see, and then I saw. So
Oh, to
we
me,
got
it's the ed. I want to add ed onto everything, and I'm like, it should probably be es or just s or ing, but I'm like, let me ed everything.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Um, are you plot driven or character driven?
Ooh.
Do you know the plot ahead of time, or do you know the characters ahead of time?
Plot.
Oh,
Yeah. So, I mean, well, for this one especially. So for book two, it'll probably be the character. But for this one, like I knew what I wanted them to do and like the whole premise of the plot and then filled in the character aspect after.
oh, interesting. Most of my guests are character driven. I like the mix up. Okay, do you write alone? Do you write with a partner, or do you write in writing sprints?
I write by myself with my dog when he's finally gone to sleep. But I can do it more in sprints.
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So I would try to do sprints and then it worked for a little while, but not as well as I would hope.
Well, and if you're participating in Camp Nano in April, they always have writing sprints if you want to try it.
Okay.
But that's if what, Zuma
Yeah.
or Zumi?
Zuma.
That's if Zuma lets mama work.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Okay, outline writing or a discovery writer?
Ooh. What would be discovery writer?
I think you're both because you start with a general outline, but then, like we talked about, your characters
Yeah.
take over, which you're kind of discovering the draft as you go, as they tell it to you.
Yeah, I think so too. So I kind of like know like the main point that I want to try, but like I can't. I kind of gotta let it drive me.
Yeah, you're like, guys, we need to be to the beach at 5. How you get there is up to you.
Yes, we need to figure this out.
Yeah, snorkeling at 5. Okay, so do you write in silence or do you write with music?
I write with the TV on
What?
or movies. So I am the person
Like,
that,
but the volume is on? What?
yeah, I am the person that like when it's quiet, I can't focus. So I used to literally in law school, I would go to the bar and study.
Like a bar with all the chaos and the jukebox and people
Yeah.
drunk and hitting on each other.
I would go to the sports bar and open my sports book, and the bartender would make fun of me because I would just sit there and I would sit strategically in front of the soda gun so I could just fill it up myself when I wanted to and just study. So yeah, so I'm always, it's either the TV or my guilty pleasure is Fast and the Furious movies. And so when I really need to
They're
focus,
loud.
I know, but I'll just put on Fast and the Furious and I crank out some words. Don't know why.
That is wild, because I would think like you get caught up in it, or you'd end up writing their dialogue into your dialogue. I mean, that is wild.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yes.
I'm glad I'm not alone on.
She needs noise bits usually too. But I know that's the thing, is like so many people are like, they'll end up, it becomes a distraction, or pretty soon they're watching the movie or they're watching the TV, and that doesn't happen.
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, mad respect.
Yeah.
Okay,
I feel like I like distract myself by finding something to do. So like if I'm in the quiet, I'll be writing and I'll be like, I'm gonna check Instagram. But then if there's like noise, it's just that enough like alternative sound or distraction there that I can actually focus on something else. I work with music on too. Like at the office, I'm always playing like a playlist or something because I just can sit there in the quiet. Or I'll listen to a Dateline podcast. I love listening to podcasts. I'm like, I'm gonna go listen to Murder, so please don't interrupt me.
Oh my gosh, her body was 4 feet from the river, and you're like, yeah.
I'm like, I should probably put my headphones in for this.
That was hilarious. I've never heard that. But okay, again, also mad respect that you're literally in a crowded bar, brave as hell, studying and not getting distracted. And, because a lot of times when we go on like solo dates, you have all these insecurities that come up, like, oh, well, what will people think? Well, then you're like, boom, I got this. Book down, give me the gun.
Yeah. It was really fun.
Okay, that is a lesson in bravery right there.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay, where was I? Oh, writing with a deadline or at your own pace.
I need a deadline. I tried at my own pace and then it wasn't working. So I needed that challenge. I got to be up against a wall, I think.
Yeah, you're a pressure writer.
Yes.
Series or standalone?
Reading or writing?
Writing.
Okay. Well, I'm going for a series, so I guess series right now.
Will you always write a series, you think?
No, I think I'll do a standalone. Like I have an idea in mind for a standalone, but
okay.
And it won't be close to any of this. But I think right now series.
And it won't be anytime soon.
No.
Okay. Historical setting, present day, or future?
I think I need to do either present day or future in the future because writing historical, I just got so lost in the minutia and like making sure that all of the details were right because I feel like a lot of people pick up on that. Like we talked about, like if the date is wrong, it's a glaringly wrong date, like that's going to disrupt some readers. It would disrupt me. So that's what I was stressed about.
Oh, yeah, they're just like, I gotcha. And you're like, I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes when you go through editors, it misses your eyeballs, it misses their eyeballs, it goes to the alpha's missing. And then of course it's that one like, grammar nerd or that one punctuation. They're like, aha. And you're just like, oh my gosh, how does this go through so many eyeballs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it has been like a very fast hour, 20 minutes talking to you. And again, happy release day.
Thank you. I'm so glad we were able to do it on release day. It's so fun.
I know, me too. And so are you going to do anything fun to celebrate maybe this weekend or?
I think some friends are taking me out tomorrow night.
Ooh.
I took myself to lunch today, and I think I'm going to go eat cake after this, but that's about it.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Well, congratulations. And then I want to catch up with you in the fall. So that way, if you do have a World Series novella-ish coming out, that we can feature that too.
Yes, that would be great. We should.
Yay! It's been lovely to meet you, and I will catch you in the DMs.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Ciao for now.
Bye.
Bye.